I first became interested in it because I grew up with a mother who's a playwright, and I grew up in an artistic community. And theater specifically makes you ask lots of questions about language and the body versus the brain and making emotion and relationship between artist and audience. And so all those curiosities were with me, and they melded really well with curiosities about science, phenomenology, experience, emotion, and perception. So I'm interested in how technology can further art. I'm also really interested in how art can further science. And I think the borders between them are more than blurry. They're kind of invented blockades that serve an understandable purpose if you're in an institution where you have to teach one subject at one time and defend your niche as a specialist. I don't think they're useful boundaries as a person. The way that dreams can help us expend our creativity in sleep. So Zero often talked about a zone of silence, of pure possibility, of pre-psychological expanses, the building blocks of perception. And I think dreams can be all those things. Dreams are the space where we make the meaning that we see during the day. They're a space where perception is made of material. Instead of being fully formed, it's in the process of forming, so we can put our hands on it and mold it actively by being an active dreamer. In the dream space, our minds are less guided, less controlled, less attentional, less logical. We have less access to much of our memory, so we're not as guided by possibilities we've encountered in the past, and so we're freer to imagine new futures. I think dreams are a creative space because we are somebody else over the night of sleep. At one point we lose language, at another point we lose a concept of ego, at another point we lose sensation in our body, we gain some senses, we lose others, we're hypersensitive to touch, we're insensitive to sound, and I think all of these slight changes in sensory input or language or access to memory, all of those are a way to bend perception so we can access a part of our minds we couldn't access before, and in that way become creative in a new vein, a new level, new possibility. I absolutely think dreams can be an avenue for collaborative artistic practice. I think that they are a way to take the stories and semantics that make us and turn them into immersive experience and vision. And so in the same way that painting can be an externalization of an emotional experience, so another person can reflect on it, internalize it, generate art, and create a movement that's in conversation with the piece they encountered. I think the dream and sharing the dream can be a way to say, this is my inside, what is yours, how does it meet you? And that's apart from technology or science. I think dream sharing practices are a way to externalize our internal worlds, to align our internal worlds, to try to, for instance, say if I get 10 random people from the street and I have them dream about America, what is the America that's inside people's heads versus the one that's outside? How do we align those worlds? And then in terms of science and technology, there's endless possibilities. We have possibilities for recording dreams so we can watch them unfold in real time. We have possibilities for two-way communication where someone's in a dream but they're lucid dreaming, and we can ask them questions and they can signal answers by moving their eyeballs at a certain rate. And we can literally communicate across planes of consciousness. So when somebody like Heinz Mack or Avipina speak about these spaces of pure possibility, and they speak about the bending of perception and working directly with perception as a tool, and working directly with light and space as tools, I think the dream is a space where if I flash a light on a dreamer's eyes, in that dream it will become a storm. Literally. And so it's an almost synesthetic transformation of sensory stimulation into immersive art experience within the dream. And so you can have collaboration across consciousness planes, you can have dreams shared between many people, you can wake up and share dreams as a way of sharing yourself. I think that there's so many ways that science can enable artistic collaboration through dreaming. I was really inspired with working with light and space as tools, working with perception to change perception, thinking about what comes before perception and what comes after perception, not just the visual experience. It really changed my idea of artwork as something which is not necessarily on a canvas in a frame, but which is something which exists in the viewer, not just with the artist, not just with the piece, in dialogue with the environment, somewhere between material and mental. And so that piece looking beyond these simple notions of authorship to something more collective, something more utopian, working directly with perception in a way that would make neuroscientists and phenomenologists proud. And so I really think that my job as a brain scientist is to think about experience and perception, but too often we get lost in the mechanism, in the practical problems, and we don't think enough about the experiential qualities. And so working with experience to make experience, working with light and space to make experience, is a pretty inspiring way to investigate phenomenology and to alter it, to take controlled alterations. And then also, even the language, if you're talking about a zone of silence, of pure possibility, pre-psychological expanses, the monochrome, the building blocks of perception, it even sounds like a dream. When we talk about the Ganzfeld is something which people organically experience in hypnagogia. If we can talk about zones of silence, the only time we can really experience silence and unconsciousness is in a dream. That's the space of pure possibility where we get broken down to nothing, to then rebuild ourselves back up into a perceiving something in the morning. So the language of zero really resonates with dream work and dream research, which is why zero is the beginning, zero is a dream. And then lastly, there's the idea of technology as a medium for art making. This idea that the tools we make change the environment that we're in, change the aesthetic possibilities, change the semantic possibilities, is really exciting to me as somebody who is sort of at a confused intersection between technology, art, and science. So for me, that perception link, that authorship and community link, that language link between pure possibility and the dream, and then the technological link, are all spaces where I feel like my work is intersecting with zero, where I think what it's going to turn into is these collaborative, techno-artistic, dreaming, pure perception, possibility spaces, which are synesthetic and immersive and somewhat utopian.